It's me, Crazy Rabbit. Welcome back to part 3 of the tech talk that was released by Star Citizen. Done 2 so far, third one. Hope you're enjoying it. Give us a like, a follow, all that stuff. Finding it really interesting so far. Hope you are too. If there's any parts of it that you feel you care to mention, drop it in the comments. I do read all the comments, so let's get a discussion going. So without that, let's get back into it.
People go to an ASD or whatnot, and it's like they're trying to whittle the numbers down, and they get down to like 10, 12, or 12, 10, 6, and then it bump back up and stuff because things are respawning too quickly. What's going on? What can you tell us?
This is one of the ones that completely infuriates me because it touches on many things. So spawning in the game is all over, right? There's multiple different types of spawners. Some of them are like item port spawners. For example, I hate using the bartender as an example, but apologies. But the bartender picks up a glass from an item port that's on the counter, and then we're at some point going to respawn a glass on this so we can do the animation again, or things like that, right? Same thing for like AA turrets. In 4.0, we've had many issues related to overspawning from those spawners, and we fixed a lot of them. Mainly conditions where designers would set those up as infinite spawn and no limits, which is great, right? So that's one.
So just catching up, the conversation's gone on about the spawning of NPCs and other stuff. I've clipped the beginning of it. I do apologize for that. Let's continue.
Now, since we've been putting out content this year, like the different locations all have like a population of AI NPCs, right, in the place. And so it's been kind of, we've had overspawn, I think, with every content patch this year.
Yeah.
Where every patch there's at least one report that comes up as like infinite NPCs at location. Is it meant to be this hard, right? And I was like, all right, what's the cause now? This is one of an example of like the symptom is the same. The cause has been different every time. This is something I really want to get time to solve properly. But the replacement system is in the works, but it's not close to being there. But so the way this works, like I'll give you the most recent one, for example. I think it was in 4.3.0. The mission module is the system that actually activates the NPC population for a mission in a given area, right? So when you enter the action area of a specific part of the mission, then the mission code is going to go and initialize submodules, and then one of those submodules will say, "Hey, put some AI in there," and then it's going to activate the spawn closets in the area, and that's going to start, right? The issue is there was a bug with the way the mission flow was working for these things that would cause these modules to doubly initialize in certain cases. And when that started, then it would actually do it again and again and again. And so that's the latest source of these overspawns. The proper fix for this is the population manager. This is something that our R&D team have been working on, which is a replacement to all to both spawn closets are still going to be around, but the systems that drives the spawn closets to make these AIs appear and spawn on top of like the what's the word that they use for this? The base population in an area, like let's say you walk around New Babbage, all the social NPCs. Currently, all these social NPCs are placed there, right? And some of them, like again, the bartenders, are driven by mission modules or area modules, and those always get this overspawn. So we just need this replacement system at this point, like because we keep repeating this error from different angles, right? And so the population management system is his approach is different. He's gonna know what's in the game world. It's like, I need 5 guys. Do I have 5 guys? We're good, right? Like instead of going, when I start, I spawn 5 guys.
That makes a bit,
which is a complete,
more sense.
Problem. And so, yeah, overspawning will be solved by this. In the meantime, we're putting in more verifications for the cases where when you stream out and you stream in and the module resets, or you abandon a mission or you start the mission during while you're already at the action area, that the actual logic doesn't run twice, and that there's actual limits in those areas.
Sorry, I've just been thinking about a cheeseburger and fries from Five Guys. You said it. Distracted.
I just need those 5 guys.
All right, so obviously,
tired now.
you know, that's a bit of a whack-a-mole thing until we get the new system online.
Yeah, one thing that I'm hopeful about though for this is that the teams have actually built some good additional debugging tools that allows us to kind of view the state of this. It sounds a bit weird, but it was difficult to even know how many NPCs are there at this location. That was actually a difficult information to find. So now we've got super good tools to be able to tell that. So that means if I'm able to just open the tool and view that information, it means that game designers can do the same. And so that means they can debug those problems in advance without us having to do it post-launch, which is the big thing.
No, chat, I don't have Five Guys money. All right. Freight elevators, entity cleanup, spawn management. When server meshing came online with 4.0, it brought with it all this new stuff and all these great things that we could do now. We got to be able to increase the server cap to 600. We got to improve that FPS performance on the server from 4.5 to 20 and stuff like this. It also had some knock-ons to some old systems, specifically interdiction and beacons. So we resolved most of the interdiction stuff in July, I feel like. But talk to me real quick about why that happened and what the solution was.
Little story behind this. So if we go back to the 3.x days, right? Like the game server has everything, right? He's simulating everything. All the entities are on one server. And so there's I don't want to say shortcuts, because this was just the way you would build things at the time. Where, for example, doing interdiction was really like the server has all the entities. So he's able to do like cross zones check. He's able to raycast across zones. He's able to do all that stuff, right? Now with server meshing, you could be on a quantum path that brings you across game servers, right? And if you've ever looked at some of our backers have done outstanding tools to calculate interdiction positions and stuff like that. If you look at that, you'll see that the edges and the ends of this is where it actually matters, that you get positioned. And so that means that since we currently use the territory map around planets and moons, right, then typically that will interrupt the quantum jump of the interdiction that is the most effective or close to the most effective. And so what that needed is a solution that allows us to have a view of the interdiction system that's basically cross-server, right, for the game shard. And so the replication layer has that information, right? We do have it in the hybrid, but we are very reluctant at allowing what I'll call game code here with no, I'm not trying to be pejorative here. We don't want to let game code query the replication layer for multiple reasons, but we want to keep them isolated. And so for this, we needed to build a solution. So the team have actually built the online team built a new service that serves every shard, but is able to provide our game devs with basically a way to build a small data representation of the game world for things that matter. So if you can picture this, you're in your ship, you start your quantum drive. What actually happens is now the game server is going to register in this new service called the Entity Cluster Service some piece of data that says we have a quantum drive at this location, right? And he's going to keep that updated, right? And on the other hand, I've got someone who starts a QED device, quantum interdiction device, QID device, QED, whatever, the interdiction device, starts your interdiction device that will also connect to this and then inform this kind of matrix view of the quantum interdiction network. That's doesn't matter which server you're on. This is all kept updated in semi-real time as you're quantuming and moving, and as the interdiction devices are activated or deactivated. And so what that allows the game server to do now is he's receiving these updates. He's got this, let's call it symbolic view of the game world to do it. And so now he's able to do proper raycasting math to see if the interdiction is going to hit across server. Doesn't matter if you're, on the same server or not. You can actually trigger the interdiction across, and then that basically gives us this ability to have cross server coordination for things without having to push all this to the replication layer or query it from it. So this is mostly a gameplay system, but we can use it. We are using it for beacons, so we're going to be using it even more for the full beacon implementation. But it's going to be the same kind of thing where now you could be in New Babbage and someone has a beacon open in Pyro, and if the gameplay wants to allow it, you might be able to get that beacon or see that beacon or bind to it, right?
And beacons. I mean, this is right now. I mean, right now we've got the
we want beacons back.
Apollo, which is going to PTU like right now. If it isn't already, it's
is it? I haven't checked out.
Yeah, exactly. We've been doing this for a while. I'm not looking at the chats, but whenever tonight's PTU goes, the Apollo will be in for PTU folks who already own it, and that's why you saw the injections of the modules that were given to everybody at no charge who owned the Apollo. So you'll be able to test that this weekend before we attempt to go to live later. Where was I going with this? But beacons. Medical beacons, but beacons, and specifically medical beacons here have had lots of compounded trouble since server meshing came on. First it was the notification. They used to get this. There used to be this big toast notification in the center, and I'm going to remember this wrong if somebody in the chat's going to be like, that's not how it happened, Disco. I'm like, I'm trying. There's a big toast notification that used to happen in the middle, and then when we bumped the server notification, which was great for people who wanted to play first responders because they could go and they could do stuff, and then they had this nice big notification that somebody needed a medical beacon, and they could stop what they were doing and then go and run off to the rescue, and that was great. When we bumped the player caps up to 600, that became absolutely interminable. Boom, 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 and we just had to shut that down. It was like, okay, we can't have that, and so they lost that functionality to save everybody else, and that sucked. But then there was the issue with the second solar system. The beacon, if the beacon originated in Pyro and you were in Stanton or vice versa, you didn't get the waypoint. You didn't get the marker because the marker existed in another star system that wasn't loaded in to where you were. So it just looked like, hey, I'm trying to pick up this rescue beacon, and it looked like nothing was happening because it couldn't give you the marker. There was no intermediate marker. And then there's some problem that started last month that meant we had to disable the entire thing while they worked to fix that. This system's had a lot of problems, and while not all of them are going to be fixed in time for this stuff, talk to me about the scope of the issue and what we need to do to make it better.
Well, so out of all of this, all the stuff you mentioned now, I know that our intent is to reactivate medical beacons, absolutely, right? I think that's a core part of the game we're trying to do, and so we really want those reactivated. The entity cluster service I just told you about is what can enable us to do cross-star system beacons. I don't think we're there yet, but we definitely want to get there, right, where we could actually pick those up. So right now, all of the kind of technology pieces that you need to fix all the issues you mentioned about beacons are there, right? We have the ability to have controlled notifications, localized detection of beacons, cross-server, cross-star system notifications, whatever. It's really about, can we put a team on it to basically add all these things, but at least all of the hurdles are kind of solved with the interdiction work we did, and this new service, the cluster service, is the thing that we need to be able to do that, to reactivate all that. So that's already live. So it's a good thing.
And the bug that prevents people from being able to quantum to the beacon.
Well, that definitely needs to be fixed. I think that even for this release, we're aiming for that to be solved, because the beacons have to work, even if you don't get cross-star system beacons just yet, and it's not fully integrated with the cluster service. I think localized beacons should still be functional. You should be able to quantum to them, and you should receive them properly. And yeah.
Just a quick thought when it comes to beacons. My personal view is that you shouldn't be able to see beacons from another star system. I think they should be even so much as located within the planet system that you're currently in. So, for example, if you're in one of the Stanton planets, then you would only receive beacons from that area unless you change a setting to get wider beacons. Yeah, I don't even think personally that like you should see the whole solar system beacons unless you choose to do that. So whether or not they do like a localized version, so just your immediate area that you can actually affect or not, I don't know whether or not they'll do that, but I'd like them to.
I got a soft spot for first responder gameplay. Like everything else you do in the verse is in some way, shape, or form self-serving, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going out and making your fortune, being a pirate or being a miner or a salvager or a racer. Although if you could make your fortune on being a racer, good for you. I don't know how much the Daymar Rally pays out, but it's like first responders, the people who choose to play as medics and stuff. They're choosing a loop that's just there to help other people, and I think that's cool. And I don't think we've done a super great job in the past of really supporting that as much as we should. So that's not I don't have the power to do anything about that. I just wanted to say that I recognize that, and we can do better.
Yeah.
Let's go to a big one. Let's go to a big one. Where I'm trying to do start with big ones. Freight elevators, blah blah, and energy cleanups, and then little guys like interdiction, beacon. Transit system.
I don't hear
the trains.
You. Just something on the line.
Shitty transit system. I'm in the third hour. I'm in the third hour. That's my one for the hour. What are we doing?
Transit. So, we do have a hero squad on this, right? And so for everybody's sake, just to make sure we're all on the same page, the transit system is the system that drives elevators, not freight elevators, trains, and some areas base transit for these things. So the transit system has been the bane of our existence. I can't frame it to something other. And so at the beginning of the year, we put some significant resources in that hero squad and brought in some very, very experienced developers to the team to help push these fixes along. On top of what I discussed earlier about the methodology that changed for these issues, and the introduction of self-healing techniques, right, to try to get it moving. And so we are accepting the current state of transit, right? I feel that right now we no longer lose carriages, or when we do, it gets auto-fixed, right? The destinations mostly work. Double doors rarely happen. The system mostly responds well. There's still issues with I'm still seeing in my playthroughs like the train timers of insane values, which is a bit of a drag. Or the transit still has this unfortunate propension of, in the event of a server crash and you are in movement on the train, your client will keep interpolating that.
Yeah. We still
which might get you to space, right?
Yeah. We still get the occasional missing elevator and whatnot. There's still a few trains that trap people.
Yes, that can still happen, right? But right now, the state at which this system is, the approach of that system is, we're kind of accepting its state, right? We're still tracking the big egregious issues that we have, like the ones that we just mentioned. So those are still being tracked and worked on. But overall, from a leadership standpoint, we're kind of in a space where now we want to talk about transport. Right.
Yes, I've been waiting. Like, you've been sitting here like, oh, we're going to accept it. We're going to accept it. I'm like, give them the drop, Benoit. Don't just be like, well, yeah, we're going to accept it. We're just fine. No, I think it's fine. We think it's going to be. We don't think it's fine. It's just we got self-healing in, and it can carry us until the new thing comes in, and that's transport system.
Correct. So transport is a complete rewrite of transit, right? Which has a much different approach to how it manages peripherals, things you click on to call up things gateways, which are the areas at which the carriages stop, and carriages, of course. And so the transport system is a lot more resilient in its approach to streaming problems, which has been a thing in the past, right, for the transit. It's also the way it's developed is a lot more robust. And so the state of transport, let's talk about that. So the team currently have, the approach that we've taken for it is the system is kind of built at this point, and we have a single transport link that we use internally. So not yet on a player-facing build, but we have an internal build of this where new Babbage HABs are completely driven by the transport system, which is pretty big milestone for the team, because it means like the system is basically kind of fully featured in terms of it's able to drive one of the major HABs drop. We are currently working at instancing those transit links. So just to reiterate what I said a little bit back in January, the introduction of instance hangars, which means dynamic gateways in the transit system, is really what like made it a big issue, right? And so now the team are working at adding that functionality into transport to make sure that we support properly dynamic gateways, which will allow you to have a transport link to and out of an instance. Now, this could be an instance hangar, but in the future it might be an area, location that has some stuff in it, right? And so that's the state of transport right now, is we're working on the instance and transit link and trains. So we've done elevators, and now we're putting the trains in with the full feature, which the trains have an additional peripheral, which is the timer, the added timer on top of it.
This is one of those things where we talked about it. In the finished product, it shouldn't look any different than what they've got. It should just work. There should just be a time where it's like, oh, look, all these things work and they've stopped killing you. Underneath, it's an entirely new system that was built after the implementation of server meshing, which is really the big thing. It's the old system was built long before server meshing. I know we reached out to the original developer who built it. Like he's not with the project. We're like, hey, you want to help us? You want to help us reconfigure it for the server meshing world? And there's like, no, you just need to build a new thing and whatnot. So you put together your team. We're building the new system. I don't understand why it's not called Star Transport though. I don't understand why it's not called Star Transport, but we're building the new
Starport.
Star Trains.
Why aren't we calling it the Starport system?
Hey, we could.
We're going to call it the Starport system. We're going to call it the Starport system now. Here's what's going to happen. Anytime you try to talk about it publicly, I'm just going to call it the Starport system now. And it really doesn't matter what you call it internally.
Why do we do these shows?
But yeah, that's like I said, you've already got the first version. It's already working internally in New Babbage. We're adapting it for instancing, and there's some high hopes that we'll be able to get that in at some point in 2026.
So we are absolutely tech previewing that system in place, where our goal is going to be to basically, we want to try to do one full location with it.
Yep.
So that all that entire location, elevators, trains, all that stuff is completely Starport driven.
Yep.
And then tech preview that and make sure that, the same methodology and QA checks that we've added for transit are going to have to fully pass before we actually accept to bring it in.
So tech preview for Vulcan and all these graphics things and the mission system, tech preview for engineering, and then tech preview for just use the elevator, please.
Yeah.
Just use the elevator, please.
Pretty much. Exactly.
Okay. You said the transit system was your most despised system. I challenge you, sir, with the ATC.
Oh, man. Well, that's one of the casualties of this, right? I hate ATC. Like
There's a bit of honesty.
Its functionality is really cool, but it's one of those systems, a bit like transit.
Wait, it has functionality?
Well, yeah. It does. So on ATC, we haven't done a lot of work on it, mostly focused on metrics. And so ATC, right, is a system that you call when you want landing or when you want to leave, right? It is unfortunately responsible for hangar queues. and is also responsible to assign you a landing area and coordinate the your instancing hangar. So basically create the instance manager for your hangar that creates the hands, and then manage the pad on your hangar. And so for ATC, while we're completely not happy with its stability overall or the queue times, which is the one thing that we're actually looking at the moment, is to make sure that the system works the way we want it. That's why we've put all these metrics in about at this location, the time to exit is this, at this location is this. Do we have enough gateway? Does the system perform the way it should? So we're still in an info gathering phase here to have the proper plan. But we do know one thing is that we are going to change the way the interaction between ATC and hangars actually work. Currently, ATC manages everything. Like I said, it gives you your landing area. It says, hey, I need an instance at this gateway. Path spawns your hangar, instance created, all that stuff. Adds that instance tag to your player, then the doors open. Now you can get into your hangar, but now ATC...
The issue that I have every single time when I'm out with a reclaimer is I'll request my hangar. And by the time I've gotten to it, because the reclaimer flies so slowly, then I always time out and the hangar's closing literally just as I get to it.
ATC sees the pad in your hangar as his landing area. He's managing this, right? And so he's taking care of all that stuff, which is a bit problematic because it's an old system. We know of its flaws. And so we do want to split these responsibilities so that there's a hangar manager.
Yeah.
So that the moment that you're done going through those doors, that's it, done. ATC's out of the picture. Now you're completely in your hangar, and the hangar manager takes care of this. And so that we've been doing tech design on this, but unfortunately, because of the different focuses we have this year, this is one casualty that I was not able to push forward on.
Yeah, there's some of these stations that have like 10, 15, 20 doors, but you'd swear the ATC only ever uses one or two of them.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we want to solve, even with the old system, before we even start hangar management.
Now, when you do the new system, ATC, air traffic controller, star traffic controller, you call it Star TC. Star TC to go with Starport.
Start everything, do it.
Somebody suggested,
or maybe Starport does ATC too.
Star traffic controller. Yeah, there you go. You're with me. The Star Troller.
Star Park.
All right. How you feeling, Benoit?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So we've gone through our year of playability. We've gone through our little bug smashers aside. We've gone through our what's the
freight elevators.
No, not before freight elevators. We did server meshing. Yep. Why isn't it called star meshing? We went through star meshing. We've gone through our list of big ticket items. It's like this. We've been doing this for about 2:15 now. I want to go from big ticket items to
bigger ticket items.
The biggest. I want to go to this is, if I'm allowed. Hold on. If I'm allowed to I'm gonna put my CIG hat on.
Go for it.
There you go. And take my CIG hat off. If I'm allowed to have an opinion that's just mine and mine alone.
Always.
The most egregious thing from my perspective, the thing that is, after dealing with getting the server frame rates up and getting the stability scores up and killing 30K, which is amazing, and I'm going to shout you that thing. I'm going to shout you out till the cows come home on that one. That thing plagued us for so long. Work on transit to transport. Work on the freight elevators is still ongoing. All that stuff, right? To me, the most demoralizing, the most heartbreaking, the most aggravating thing is when your stuff disappears. It's just that simple. You spend hours in there. You work your butt off. There are people who get together with members of their org to work towards earning a Polaris from Wicklow. And if they manage to put all their stuff on the elevator and the elevator doesn't eat it, they then get their Polaris. They then get their Atlas, ICTY. They then get their F8C, whatnot, and they have it. And then we release a patch which we used to do every 3 or 4 months, and now we've been doing every month. So as an unfortunate side effect of our change in our philosophy, we exasperated this problem, and now it's a gamble. It's a crapshoot. Every time we release a patch, it's just
It's a good thing to
who
bring
gets
up.
to keep it, who gets to lose it. Bing, 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 bing. What the heck is happening? What is happening, and what the hell are we doing about it?
All right, cool. LTP, right, is the famous
The
system we're
worst
talking about.
named thing in the world. No, sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
Well,
Long-time persistence.
Let's go a bit into what LTP actually does, right? Because there's some misconception around it, and also a bit of misconception to the amount of effort you actually put on it. But so
Long-term
historically, if we go
persistence.
back to the 3.x era, I guess, I think it's in the 3.x era.
Yeah.
We developed the first LTP system, right? Which came a bit as a side request, right? Which was, we patched 4 times a year. It was a bit like, oh, there's some stuff players want to be able to persist, cross patch. We're still in development, so it's okay. We're wiping all the time, and we want to wipe because blah blah blah. There's other considerations, so let's build something. So we built a very small system initially to persist stuff, and the way that worked is that the game server would basically submit these commands to say, this guy picked up a gun, this guy dropped a gun, this guy has this. And so that was a solution that kind of worked at the scale of a single server kind of system. And we had a lot less items at the time. That solution was in no way scalable, right?
Right.
But it kind of did work better overall than the current one, to be honest. Now come PES 3.18, come 4.0 dynamic server meshing. Now we persist everything else, right? So we need to kind of change how we deal with long-term persistence. And so let me describe a bit how this works currently. So when you acquire a ship from, let's say, the web platform, right? That ownership record lives on the web platform. It's in there, right? And every time you log into the game, we check, oh, this guy has this thing. Does he have that ship in the game? In his entitlements, right?
It's called an entitlement. That's an important term.
That's your entitlements, right?
That's your entitlement.
So the entitlement records, I know people are going to make the joke about, oh yeah, we're all entitled. Yeah. So the entitlement
I wasn't going to make that joke. I respect these people.
I'm preempting you. So we make sure you have an entitlement record. When you actually open up your ASOP terminal, right, and you view your list of ships, what you're actually viewing is your list of entitlements, right? These are not your ships. These are actually your entitlement records. Attached to your entitlement records is the insurance document that goes with it, which describe the loadout of the ship. We call this an entity class loadout, which describes what's in each port, right? And if there's no entity class loadout or insurance document with it, then it's the default loadout. So that is your entitlement records. That's what you see in the ASOP. Then we also query for, is there an entity for this entitlement record at the moment, right? And that will look at the game database in this current moment. Let's call it the inventory database for now, right? So we cross-link the two. So for each row in your ASOP terminal, you'll see your entitlement record. You'll see the state of the entitlement record will allow you to see if you need to deliver it first. That means I have no entity in the game. So when you deliver it, now we create the entity in the game. And then if it's stowed in an inventory, then you can retrieve it, right? It starts from the entitlement record. And then if the ship is stowed, then you'll see its location is set, right? If it's left in space at a location, you'll see its location is set. If it's lost or destroyed, or I think there's a couple of different states, but one of them is destroyed, then you can claim the ship, right? And then that will use the insurance document to destroy whatever matches this entitlement. So we have a way to find entities that were created from a given entitlement, gets destroyed, and then we use the insurance document to give you a brand new ship, right, at the location where you're at. And so that's in-game. That's what you have in-game. That's the way the in-game part works, right? So let's do a clear example. I'm in New Babbage. I have a hawk in my list, and I deliver it. It gets created at that location. I retrieve it. It gets unstowed onto the pad. I use it around, blah, blah, blah. I fly out to another place. I lose the ship. I respawn in Fletcher. I could do my time. Then I go out to Grimex or whatever I respawn at. And now I'm at a different location. I see the Hawk in my entitlement list, but the ship is nowhere to be found. I claim it. A new ship is created. It's put in there.
Yep.
Okay.
So before we go to the ones you get in game, which is just to reiterate this so everybody understands this before we move on to the next thing. Because people are always wondering, why do I always get the stuff I pay money for? Real money for, but the stuff that I earn in games is different. That's what we're in the process of explaining right now.
Yes.
Because the stuff that you get that you pay actual money for, or that you get awarded through like a subscription or a gift, like we gave the armor to Concierge a couple months ago and stuff like this. Those sit on the web platform. That every time you log into the game goes, hey, what am I entitled to? The platform says, these are the things you're entitled to, and it gives you back. It's why, remember the character reset back in the day and whatnot? That's all it did. It just refreshed those entitlements, and that's why you got those things back. That system is not simple. Benoit what Benoit described there was not simple in the least, but it's a pretty hefty system. It works. We know it works. It's why you are never in any risk of losing the things that you pledged for, and it's why sometimes certain items like the Race for Stanton stuff, trigger a thing that gives you a web platform entitlement, and those go into your My Hangar, and you see them in your My Hangar, and that's why you get those, and you have that. That stuff is, for the most part, it's very stable. It's very stable. You can always rely on getting that stuff back. That's not how the in-game stuff works.
Correct.
Benoit.
So we went through the web platform stuff and how ASOP works, right? Let's go into, now I go to New Deal and I buy a ship with UEC, right? That will actually give you an entitlement, right? Because you can claim those ships, right? You can transfer those ships. So now, at that point, up to now, these will work identically, right? But when you log into the game, we don't reconcile from an outside source your list of purchased in-game ships. They are just entitlements in your account, right? And that's it. We keep them. Okay. Let's stay on ships for now, right? Before we get the items.
Let's stick with
right?
ships.
Now, the thing that's important to know here is that the actual ship you're playing with, the amount of possible states for that ship are almost infinite, right? You could leave the ship in space. You could leave it in your friend's hangar. For some reason, people are able to do that. You can stow it in inventory. It can be inside an Idris that's stowed in someone else's thing. All kinds of stuff can happen. And so there's multiple paths to update that specific state of that ship. Whereas your entitlement, once you have it, you have it. That's why your ASOP terminal always has it. Now, let's talk about how LTP works now. Now, this is within a game patch. When we release a new patch, inventory database, entitlement database, they're gone, right? We start from scratch. And now we're rebuilt. So you reconnect, you come in, your web purchases are being reconciled. We create new entitlements for them. And then when you get in game, you create new ships and then you play with those ships and everything works. What is LTP? LTP is when you acquire things in game and you have ships that you own, right? The way LTP was designed, and maybe this is the part that, there's a mistake there, right? But still, I'll explain how it works. When you stow something in an inventory that you own, the systems will create what we call LTP records. These LTP records basically say they're close to what an entitlement is, right? But they say Jared owns a Hawk, right? And those are stored in another database, right? That is outside the game environment and lives cross patches, right? And so now when we wipe the entitlement database and we wipe the game database and we start fresh from a new patch, when we reconcile your account the first time, we're going to give you your web purchaser for sure, and we're going to give you back your LTP records. And so that will create those entitlements. That's the intent. Now, the problem is, right, we need to make sure that we always stow the stuff back into inventories that we own properly and that those records actually save properly, right? And it turns out that there's a million goddamn ways in which stuff gets stowed in this game. And so for example, claiming a ship by insurance, then you get the ship, it gets stowed
You can
from
tell
another
that this
path,
is
and in that
really a
path,
point of
the
contention for him.
LTP wasn't correct. We've had cases where we tried to fix bugs related to the F7C turrets, for example, that got disconnected, that were a default loadout item that we didn't want to wipe when you claimed insurance on it. And that messed up the LTP records for it. And so this whole thing basically is very fragile. And so what we realize now is that the list of LTP records and the way we update them is not always a slam dunk. In fact, there are a bunch of cases where the record's not updated right. But we even had a case in 4.2.0 very recently where we realized 2 days after launching the patch that the way the recording was going for the ships, there was an issue where instead of giving you, I'm going to take your Wicklow Polaris as my example, just to make it super egregious. Your Wicklow Polaris that you stowed in your inventory by going at your hangar and storing it back in would actually persist as one of its components in LTP. So you would get like a cooler instead of the ship, like you'd get. And so that was obviously a very big issue. And we ran corrective programs to solve that. And so that's why, if you notice in 4.2.1, you didn't have much reports of people losing ships in 4.2.1. But now we're back at 4.3.0 and we've had reports of lost ships between patches. And so we're pretty certain at this point that we know that there's still cases where the LTP records are incorrect, either through certain game flows. There's also, unfortunately, a lot of signal to noise ratio issues, like people claiming they've lost ships. We investigate their accounts; they never had those ships.
Yeah.
We get a lot of that, right? And so at this point, we have to be very prudent.
Yeah.
But
I want to jump in here to make sure that this doesn't get lost in some of the stuff I'm checking. So there's two issues. We need to step back and explain how the checkout and the stow works, because that's causing some confusion. We'll do that in a second. But this bug where first bug is things aren't getting stowed right. Things aren't getting stowed right, and so and so when it comes time to entitle at the beginning of a new patch cycle, you don't get the thing. Sometimes it's not getting stowed at all. Sometimes it's getting stowed and being logged as a component part or something else, and that's why it's like, oh, I'm supposed to have a ship. I don't have my ship, but I have this cooler instead. That I don't think I own this cooler and whatnot. We were on a call, you and I, until, well, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. My time, when we were investigating this and just giving you examples, and we were trying to figure out what's going. The man was literally inside the raw LTP database. We were checking individual items, like talking to backers on Twitter and Discord, and like, okay, when did you do this and what did you do this? Like working down at the most granular level in the middle of the night, trying to figure this out back, and I can't even remember what patch it was, to figure out that they were being stored as other items.
Yeah.
And so that you can write the SKU to fix that stuff. But all of this happens because of something that we haven't explained before, and that's the checkout and stow system. So talk to me about, and talk to me, be candid, it's okay, about how the checkout and stow on this LTP system works. And I'm gonna preface this with something. We've admitted to a lot of peculiarities in the course of this show. Now we're about 2.5 hours in. We've been very candid. We've been very forthright. We've admitted to Benoit said the words, "Can't trust Dev with this," or whatnot. It's like this. A lot of things are being said in jest and whatnot. What I can't control what you take away from this conversation that we've had. My hope would be a recognition that we're human and that we're constantly trying and growing and striving to do better. If you choose to take other stuff from that, I can't do much to help that. But explain the checkout and stow system, because that's what's going to light the bulb for a whole lot of people of what the struggle is here.
So you have the inventory system, right? Where that stuff goes and gets stored in there, and the records for these, let's say you have a ship that you store you're at your hangar, there's a ship on the pad. That ship is unstowed. It actually lives in the game shard database and is actively being simulated on, meaning we're getting updates from the game server on this ship. its position, its location, the state of doors, thrusters, all that stuff, right? It's, you know, multiple messages per second, right, on these things. So it's unstowed. Now you press the store button on your ASOP, right? Platform goes down, doors close. Now the system will stow that ship. What that means is it deletes the ship from the shard, removes it from the game world, and then moves it to the inventory system. So it gets stored into your inventory location, your location inventory, right? Gets stored in there. At that point, if you own the inventory where the ship is getting stored, we create an LTP record for it. Meaning that if we wipe the patch right at this second, and you come back in the new patch, we will give you back that ship for sure, right? Now, for the through the hangar, 100%, right? But there's other areas where we create ships when they're already stored, right? There are areas where we do repair and we modify stuff like that. Those are the areas where now the LTP record might not get created, or we might interpret it as a separate thing. The other thing is when we stow things into an inventory that you own, it's not just a ship, right? This is the bit that sometimes, you know, people oversimplify. It's the tree of the ship, right? So if the ship has a box container that has 32 SCU of boxes that have handguns in them, I'm going to give you the ship plus the handguns. Anything in that tree that is flagged for the long-term processing. So this is where designers look at items in the game and they say, this we want to store cross-patch, right? There are things we do not want to store cross-patch. Ammo, consumables, stuff like this, we don't want to store this cross-patch, right? That's a design decision that we've taken in the past. And so there's this whitelist that comes into play that decides what items will create LTP records for and when those get processed. And so the process of taking something that you're storing and then creating LTP records from it is really about processing the whole tree. So when you store an address, we might be creating hundreds of LTP records for stuff that's in it, right? And so that gets to be an issue. Also, like if you have you can start thinking about the edge cases now, right? You have a constellation. I don't even know if it fits actually. Let me take a smaller ship. You have a Gladius in the bay of an Idris, and you store the Idris in your inventory. Technically, you might get the LTP record for the Gladius in this case, right? Now it depends on ownership and how that's actually trickling. And so these are all the cases we have to deal with this. And so when we told players in the past, oh, you need to store your stuff, right? What does that mean, right? I'll give you a concrete example of where there would be a lost ship, right? Based on these parameters. Let's say there's no defect on the system, which we're not completely sure yet. I'm pretty certain there is a defect, but let's start with there's no defect. You play the game with your Gladius and you leave it in space somewhere, and now you respawn at your station, and your ASOP says Gladius destroyed, right, or whatever, and now you have the claim button, right, and you're like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll do that later, and you leave the game, and then we patch. You don't have that ship because when you unstowed the ship to the game shard to play with it, we removed the LTP record for it. Right? That's the way the system is designed. Now, we're going to change that because that's, you know, there's too many paths in which stuff gets stowed that could lead to problems or that don't respect the rules properly. And that's what we've come to realize. And so without going into too much details about how we do this, right? But this is a bit part of our item imprint epic, right? So very large approach there, because we always said item recovery tier 0 is just tier 0, so there's more item input work there. But part of this is a revamp of how we deal with long-term persistence. And we're going to take a very, I'm going to say, simple approach to this. We're going to persist your entitlements across patches. And so instead of trying to always reconcile all the data from the game state, which I just gave a couple of examples, but I could go on, right, of examples where, you know, the turducken example of like stuff in stuff in stuff in stuff, right? That, and all these things can cause either the records to go to the wrong place or the wrong things being persisted. So instead of that, we're going to persist your entitlements. So that means that if you see a ship in your ASOP terminal, you're going to come back to the next patch. You're guaranteed to have the same list. There's no ifs, and or buts, because we're keeping that database cross-patch completely. And now the other questions people I've seen some comments. People are like, why don't you just persist the whole thing across patches, right? We cannot do that for reasons related to the data format. So let's say between 4.2 and 4.3, the Gladius to play with is not the same Gladius between patches. It's completely changed. Its shape has changed. Its entity hierarchy has changed. The parameters on them have changed. The components that drive it have changed. And so we don't yet have the tools or the proper approach to version every single part of the game properly, so that we could forward migrate the data, right? So that the Gladius that you've stored in 4.2, it's all tree, its parameters, its snapshots, its variables, all that. So you come back in 4.3 and we're like, we migrated to the next one. That's something we want to do, but we're completely not there yet. And so we need this LTP layer. So your entitlement records actually serves that purpose right now, because when you claim a ship from insurance, we will basically do the same exact thing, which is we persist the fact that you own this ship, and we allow you to obtain a recent version of that ship on the current patch. It'll be exactly the same mechanic.
So let me attempt to do Chris Hands here and say it another way, so that between your way and my way, people will have
Sure.
an understanding. And you tell me if I ever mess up in this stuff. So you buy something on the website, it gets stored in a website version of this database where all these things are done. You log into the game. When you log into the game, it says, "Hey, I need my entitlements. What are the things that this person owns from this other thing?" It queries this other database that's on the platform, on the web, whatever, gets a list of things, pulls down, and that's why you have it. That system works. It's great. It's pretty robust. It's people don't have any trouble getting the stuff that they buy. That's why that's always there. That's great. Whew. All right. Everything else you buy in the game is super insanely plentiful, from giant spaceships made of all these components down to individual bullets and everything. And it's all physicalized and whatever. Maintaining all of that for every single player, every single version that gets left over and stuff is simply not possible. It's simply too big a thing. So we have to decide what to save and what not to save. LTP is this as a separate database, not the entitlement database over here, a separate database of the things that you have purchased, found, earned in game that gets locked to that. We make choices on what that is. Bullets, no. Med pens, no. A spaceship, yes. Armor, yes. And there are lots of areas in between, but we'll go with the extremes here. Med pens and spaceships. We'll use spaceships. We'll keep with spaceships as the example because it's the easiest way to explain this. So you've bought the spaceship, you've earned the spaceship, whatever. You land it in a hangar, you stow it, boom, it creates an LTP record. Doesn't create that LTP record until you've got it home, you stowed it, and boom, you've got it. The next time you try to fly it, you pull it up from the hangar. That coming up from the hangar elevator is more than just a nice visual. It is a representation of what's happening to your LTP record. It is pulling that out of LTP and moving it into the live server game database, the universe of the world, so that you can fly it around. It needs to do this in order to work for things like piracy and theft and prevent item duplication. It has to come out of there to go here. So that's how we prevent duplication. This is all in a perfectly working scenario. There are plenty of bugs that creep in here. People are like, wait, I didn't stow this and I came back to two versions of the ship. Those are bugs. We're talking about how it was designed to work. You take it out, you're flying, it's no longer in LTP, you're flying around. It's out there until you bring it back to a hangar, stow it, make it go down, and whatnot. At which point it recreates the LTP record, puts it back in. If your ship is destroyed while you're out flying it, it doesn't create your new LTP record until you hit the claim button. You hit the claim button, and then it cleans that up, puts it into the LTP record. So that's not something we've ever been super great at communicating to people, and why sometimes it's like, well, why have I lost the ship? Why have I not lost the ship? We're explaining these things to help you better fight that fire until these new changes come in. that system has lots of bugs, lots of flaws, lots of issues here and there. If you took anything from Benoit's conversation, his attitude, his demeanor, we fully recognize the limitations of it. Like many things in Star Citizen, it was a product of its time, and it needs to be revised and helped and bolstered as the game continues to grow and get more complex. Those are things you can do to help assuage that. Obviously, everybody knows the thing about landing and getting it back to the hangar. Don't forget to claim your things in the ASOP. It's not going to fix everything. There's still all the outlying bugs and issues and stuff, but it's another thing that you can do to help yourself in the meantime. That said, we have a new solution that we're going to put into effect, and I'm not going to say anything when I throw it back to Benoit, he can say what he wants to say about when. When you earn a ship, when you buy a ship and whatnot, it ensures you've gone through the mission reward or the Wicklow thing or the buying, not when you steal it from somebody else, but when you do one of the legitimate ways. We are going to create an entitlement record, not an LTP record, an entitlement record up in another database that's just like the one that we use for when you buy things. Yeah. And then from that point on, now that we've created that record over there in that database, not inside LTP, that means that no matter what happens, the next time you log in, you're going to have access to your ship. The next time we do a patch, you're going to have access to your ship with the same stability and the same reliability as the system we use to sell things and stuff like that. So that is what they're working on right now. So we don't have to wait for the changes to LTP in order to resolve this terrible issue of people losing the ships that they've bought with in-game money or earned through Wicklow rewards and stuff like that. How'd I do, Benoit?
That was actually pretty good. I mean, a couple of things that correct, but not even worth it. I think that's totally fine.
All right. You want to tell anybody about when we might?
Well, we're actively working on this right now. So the big parts of the online team are dedicated to this. There's a few things that we need to solve in order to put this into full production, release it. Obviously, since those are backend systems, they have to be super robust and very well tested because you know what happens when they're not. But that's the approach. In the meantime, though, we're discussing mitigating options, right? So I'm not going to promise those here, but we did do a mitigation in 4.2.1 that actually kind of worked for ships, specifically ships, not all items, but for ships. And so we might actually use that again to ease up on some of the pressure before all the systems come in, because the reality is your entitlements is what you're actually driving at from the ASOP terminal. And so we can just ensure that you have all those entitlements again, right? And so that's the mitigation. And so we're probably going to be putting that into play just so that in the meantime, while we're developing the feature, there's not as much, ship loss and things like that.
Somebody in the chat was like, Jared, star-splaining again. Yeah. It's my grandfather used to serve on the USS Tingy, and his job, he served on it during World War II in Korea, and his job was to be the person that sat next to the captain, and when the captain gave the order to repeat the order in the radio and whatnot, so that you heard the same thing from two different voices in two different ways, so that you understood, so that it reduced the amount of misunderstanding and what happens inevitably, because I guess we've been doing this for a while. Drink, everybody. Is you let one person say it and you only have one person say it, and then half the people get it, and that's great, and half the people don't get it because it's not delivered quite the way. So we've found over the years, much to the annoyance to some people who call it star-splaining, that when you say it two different ways, it helps both halves of the people in the community understand. There's usually somebody that gets it from one way and somebody that gets it from the other way, and we like to do both because that's our job here. So you can call it star-splaining if you want, but
I think you did a pretty good job, to be honest.
What else we got left, Benoit? That was pretty much all of our big ticket things.
I think so.
I know, folks. Before we let you go, I mean, we got 10 minutes left before we hit 3 hours. Let's go ahead and try. Recently, there was some press and stuff like that. Turbulent, or some part of Turbulent is becoming what is it called? Cloud Imperium Games Montreal stuff. How's that going?
Very good, actually. I mean, we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of the merger, right? Of Turbulent and CIG, and then I mean, it's going really well. I think overall so we did want to do some adjustments though, because like the Turbulent teams, even though they're fully working on Star Citizen, we're still under the Turbulent name, right? Which caused us a bunch of grief, to be honest, in like having to explain, like when we're hiring people and we're bringing into the team, it's like, so what is there? Oh, it's Star Citizen, but it's Turbulent, but really we're the same. Like, it's okay. Like that doesn't help, right? So we all wanted to make sure that this was kind of one good unified message, and so for the game teams over there, basically we kind of split the two businesses because Turbulent still exists as a web company, right? And the web teams are fully inside CIG now, and so changing the name of the studio to Cloud Imperium Games Montreal made sense, right? To be able to leverage the outstanding talent in the city and build stable teams over there, and the team has grown quite a bit. And so this was really about like clarifying stuff like this, and I think it's going well. I mean the integration has been fantastic so far. I mean the way the teams operate across the board at CIG are improving. I think that even though there's transatlantic time zones, you can see a lot of the fruit of the collaborations between the teams show up right in the stuff that we've produced this year. The teams travel back and forth, the key leads are exchanging, and there's a really good gel between this. And so no, it's been, to be honest, really positive so far. So it's good.
Well, that about does it for what I have for you, Benoit. Chat's been like SCL stands for Star Citizen Long. Sometimes, at least when Benoit and I get together, and people are like, Star Citizen long, or Star SCL longer than Citizen Gone Direct. That's crazy. Yeah, it will be. It will be longer than Citizen Gone Direct. Let's talk about that.
I was just thinking
for
that.
a second. I still got some time. Yeah. So, in case folks don't know, Citizen Gone Direct is coming. It's on October 11th. It's why I'm here in my office and not on the spaceship. We've set the spaceship up as a permanent filming location for Citizen Gone. Why is SCL longer than Citizen Gone Direct? Because this just takes me and Benoit. This just takes me and Benoit doing absolutely no prep, absolutely no prior discussion. Just like, hey, you want to chat for like 3 hours about all these things? I'm just going to ask you about a bunch of crap, and you're going to, tell the truth. I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And this is a relatively easy thing. Don't equate length with a difficulty. Citizen Gone, even a Citizen Gone Direct, still involves 20, 30 different people all doing their part, and we got to work with all their schedules and stuff like that. And then there's editorial, there's editing it all together because it's like 5 different cameras at 4K each. And then there's all the B-roll creation, which is the same a wonderful dedicated 6-person team that makes all the trailers and all stuff like that. So they got to do that in between the win, and then reviews and reshoots and all that kind of stuff. So don't equate length with quality. Never said those words before. That was for him. He's laughing over there. You can't see him. But I do want to say, if you are some more things about Citizen Gone Direct, if you're a subscriber to the Squadron 42 newsletter that went out, that just went out with a map of the Odin system, there was a note at the end there about the Squadron 42 team still being heads down and working on that. I want to second the information there, and I want to star explain. I'm going to start explaining the information that was there. There will be no Squadron 42 presence at Citizen Gone Direct this year. So just in case there was any kind of people were like, I didn't quite understand the message, or maybe the message wasn't fully clear and whatnot. And if it wasn't, maybe that was on us. That team is heads down. We drew a line in the sand when we said 2026. I don't know if we're going to make it. I just know that we're going to do every single thing possible to make it. And part of that is not taking time for the distraction of Citizen Gone. That's why we're not doing a larger event this year. It's why we're doing a smaller, more focused thing. Even when we did Digital Citizen Gone, those were still these big 6, 8, 10-hour things. We called that Citizen Gone. This is not Citizen Gone. It's Citizen Gone Direct. It's a much smaller, more focused thing, specifically on the work of the Star Citizen team and what they plan for the next year of development. We're not going to look at 1.0 stuff and so like this. It's just we're going to take a look at what the next year of our intention is for that. So it's a much smaller, more dedicated thing. I think you're still going to enjoy it. People who are working on it are doing a lot of really hard work to make it as entertaining and informative as possible. But again, just want to be real clear with the expectations management. No Squadron 42 presence at all. That's not a release date.
I've got to say, a little disappointed. I've enjoyed the previous Citizen cons. I get why they do it, honestly. 2 hours. It's going to be... I'll be doing it on the channel. Please make sure that you follow. I'll also be doing a live watch party as well. You're welcome to join me on that.
That's not any of that stuff. We're letting those people stay focused. They're letting those people stay focused. We're on track. There's nothing to report. There's no mystery. There's no anything we're hiding or whatever. It's just like we said when we announced Star Citizen. Like we said when we announced Star Citizen Direct. We're trying to stay out of everybody's way and let them focus and let them do the work that they're here to do, which is make the game. It's
also a misconception that all the resources are in Squadron 42, right? Like the reality is there's two teams, right?
Yeah.
And we get to push both games, right? It's super important for that. Now, obviously, Squadron, unfortunately, has got to be under a bit more secrecy, right?
Yeah.
But
no, it's not a. So I can already see the chat. The chat's already like, oh, it means this, it means that, folks. It means that when it's time for the game to come out, you're going to hear a lot more about it. It's always been different. We've always been big yappy on Star Citizen and less yappy on Squadron. So it's just an extension of that. It's just as we get closer to our intended release date in 2026, we will start opening up the doors, opening up the communication. You'll start seeing more of all that kind of stuff that you would expect in a proper go-to-market campaign. It's just, we're just doing this. We're staying out of everybody's. That's the same thing. That's why there's fewer ISCs this year. It's why there's fewer SCLs this year. We just want the people, as part of this change that we talked about for the first 30 minutes of this show, this reorganizational change, we want people's focus being on making the game. That's it. It's really no more complicated than that. So when the time is right, you'll see plenty of Squadron 42 stuff, I promise. So with that said, that's it. That's our show. 3 hours. Thank you, of course, to Benoit, who flew halfway around the world to sit in a room like
across the
100
office.
meters that way and take the time to sit on the show with us.
I even put my TDK shirt just for you.
I know, because I'm an astute collector of
That's right.
high quality audio cassette tapes. So thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for being respectful in chat to your fellow chatters. Saw a lot of folks with a lot of good conversation there. And thank you, as always, again, I did it already, but I'm going to do it again. Benoit, for agreeing to come. I don't know. I've worked a lot of places in my life, and I've been in a lot of studios, and I've never known a CTO to be this willing to come on and share this level of candor and insight with people. So thank you.
I'm glad for it. It's the DNA of our project, man.
All right.
Got to do it.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was it. That was the 3 hours completed from the Tech Talk with Benoit Beauséjour. And I hope you enjoyed it. Drop something in the comments. Always like to read those and interact with you on there. I really appreciate it if you consider giving a follow to the channel. It's still a small channel. I want to grow it. I want to bring out more stuff. Obviously, the more people I have to send that to, then the better it is. A little side note, got the new t-shirt up on the website. Link is in the description. Give a follow, give a like. All that stuff. It's Crazy Wabbit. See ya. Big thank you for watching. I've been Crazy Rabbit. Like, subscribe, and all that other stuff. Also, consider joining the Patreon to help me actually pay my bills. Check out this next video for more of the same content. See ya!